I have 14 years of teaching experience. I actually started teaching when I was 19 in Malta, and I achieved my CELTA in 2011 in Malta. Then I was teaching, obviously, in these different countries, as you can see here. Then I did something called a diptiso, which is similar to a delta. A delta is obviously with Cambridge, and a diptiso is with Trinity College. So I did that in 2019. Very rewarding, very difficult too, but very fun. So at the moment at EF in Bournemouth, along with teaching and other duties, I'm also help and in charge of recruiting staff. So at the moment, I'm recruiting staff for our January intake, and also I'm in charge of training new staff. With that being said, I also, with our current staff that we had, I conduct CPDs. If you're not familiar with what CPDs are, they are continuous professional development. So for example, I observe a teacher, I see maybe what they would like to do or what they need to develop further, and then I would conduct a CPD based on that. So that's pretty much what I do. That's who I am. It's a privilege to meet you all. I'm very thankful that I was asked to conduct this webinar with all of you guys today. So I guess we should just get started, I guess. So hello, my clicker stopped working there, which is actually quite embarrassing. There we go. So what we're doing today? Today we're looking at something called gamification. And first of all, of course, we're going to start with what is it? Because maybe some of us are not as versed as that. Why is it important to use it? And then we're going to look at how we can use it in a classroom management, and how you can use it during introducing stages, like during vocabulary or grammar. Practicing how we can use it while we practice vocabulary and grammar. Making reading fun, because reading is always fun, but how we can use it with games, in fact. And then how can you use it also at the end of the lesson. Now, I can see a lot of you already are very keen and very happy to get involved, which I really do appreciate, and I hope you get involved as much as possible when I do ask you guys some questions. So please feel free to put your quick answers in the chat. I will try my best to read them all. But if I don't mention you, I guess I'll apologize now, I guess. Fabian from Malta. We've got another Maltese person here. Fantastic. Okay, so first of all, for all of you guys, if I had to ask you for gamification, in one word, if you know what it is, how would you define gamification, or what would you use to define gamification? Can you just put it in the chat, please, guys? Let's see what you guys know already about this. So, okay, fun and learning's good, yes. Play in the classroom and have fun. Creativity's good. Challenging students with games, yes, Sophia. A device, that's interesting. A device for learning, one would assume. Challenging students with games. Learning with games, I think it's pretty much it. Yeah, learning with games is a good one there. Julia, learn with games, fun, using games for language, using games. Oh, wow, look at that. Everyone's getting involved here. Fantastic. Someone mentioning their point scoring. That's a very good point there. Competitive learning. Yes, Annabelle. Nice. Let's see what else I've got. Healthy competition, rewards for achievements. Yes, yes, yes. Awaken the curiosity. Fantastic. You guys already have a type of idea of what gamification is. So essentially, what I did was I read some articles, because that's what I like doing, actually. And in these articles and through my own practice in schools as well, is we've come up with a definition for that. So gamification is defined as the use of game design elements in non-game contexts. So I remember when I was in school, my teacher didn't like to play a lot of games with us, and it was mostly just like sort of textbook learning. And me being very competitive, like I love sports, um, I found that that wasn't the best way for me personally, anyway. So the beauty of gamification lies in its versatility. It can be applied across various subjects and various age groups, making it an invaluable approach for educators and learners alike. So at the moment, I'm teaching here, and I use a lot of games in my class. It really helps when I want to use it anyway. As a general rule, students are native gamers. So what does this mean? It means that it's likely that our students have played video games or card games, or maybe they've worked towards achieving the next level to something, um, collecting rewards, as someone very gracefully mentioned in the chat. So if students are native gamers, we should try to tap in to that side of it. Um, so gamification, of course, as a lot of you pointed out as well, gamification makes learning fun. It helps learning become more interactive, and students are encouraged by the desire to reach that next level and even to collect rewards. The best thing I can think, well, an example I can think of straight away is the use of, for example, like Duolingo. So on Duolingo, you use it, you can achieve different levels and you get points and you get rewards. So Duolingo is a very good example of how gamification can make um, learning fun. So yeah, an opportunity to strengthen our face and brain muscles. Well, if only I had a couple of brain muscles to use, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to move on. So now I want you to now think of a time when perhaps a game helped you to learn something or stay motivated and what made it effective. I remember when I was a new teacher well, quite a long time ago now. And as at the end of the training, the person who was conducting the training, they gave us like a type of like it wasn't Kahoot at the time because it wasn't we Kahoot wasn't really popular at the time, but it was a type of quiz like this. And again, because of my competitive spirit, I really wanted to get involved and I really wanted to win. But with winning, I was actually learning because I was using the information that I was given. So that's one example for me. So you guys, please, in the chat, think of a time when a game helped you to learn something or stay motivated. So what made it effective for all of you guys? And let's see all of your lovely answers you put here. So we have a puzzle game in Oxford, a scavenger hunt for new vocabulary. That is very, very cool indeed. Very interesting indeed. Playing bingo, singing. Yeah, so even playing bingo, it could be a form of like, a listening activity or maybe like a pronunciation activity with new sounds. You play bingo for these new sounds. So yeah, that's a very good idea. Learning new words, interaction with others, very nice. Rewards, very cool. Escape room. Escape room is very, very interesting. You mentioned that Magdalena, and I'm actually going to go into that a little bit later. So very cool you mentioned that. Doing a pantomime, very cool. Fun factor and challenges, yeah, these keep you motivated and it's fun, right? A challenge, pairing up with others and playing some, yeah, general knowledge quiz again. Like you want to win that, right? I don't want to lose playing general knowledge. Bingo, gamification is magic to learn. Indeed, it is. Trivia, a bit of hangman, some music, very nice indeed. The red chair, that sounds very ominous. Taboo game. It was really good game for learning new vocabulary. Fantastic stuff. Look at that. You guys are fantastic. Loads and loads of answers here. Jeopardy. Yep. Jeopardy is a good game to do that as well. Two truths, one lie. Well, I guess you can use that, I guess, with some form of vocabulary or grammar. Yeah. Let's always think about what is the tangible learning when we do any form of activity. So we can do games, but it's like a game with a tangible learning towards the end of it. Okay. So yes, Scrabble's a good idea as well. Crosswords, card games, happy families work on vocabulary. Yeah, fantastic. And hello, Gerald. Um, well, some of them are language games. But we'll go into a little bit later where I show you some examples of what we can do. Like treasure hunt or an escape room, for example, aren't essentially made for ESL learning, but we can use them in stages of our lesson. Okay. So again, interesting you said that, Augustine. Games are usually part of the reflection stage. This can be true, yes, but we can also use it to introduce things as well, which I will show you guys later on as well. So, guys, thank you so much for all of your fantastic answers. Um, a lot. I will be asking more questions. So, considering there are 300 participants, I am expecting 300 answers in the chat box there. Okay, so moving on. So maybe we have to think about why we use gamification in class. So some people rightly have said, for example, well, if you just play games in class, what's the point, right? Because again, there's no tangible learning there. However, me personally, I would say that it boosts engagement because again, people are enjoying themselves, they're engaged. It helps with their motivation as well because maybe I'm a bit shy, but I see other people are enjoying themselves. So therefore, I want to get involved in this situation. Also, with gamification, it shows achievement and makes learning visible. So, in this situation, if you're playing a game and like a Kahoot, that's one I usually go to, it shows at the end you've learned something because you've shown your achievement there. Okay. It makes this learning that we've done during the lesson or over the past week or however long, it makes it visible. Then let's not forget maybe something that's maybe not mentioned as much, a social factor. I've found a lot of young people now, especially while I'm teaching, they were locked in during COVID. So a lot of young people maybe do not have well, I found anyway, maybe don't have the same social skills as others. So these types of social aspects, playing these games, it's like promoting collaboration. It's making sure we all work together. It's making us speak English as much as possible as well with some games. So these are some reasons why I recommend using gamification. I especially like using it in the summer. So in the summer, I'm an academic manager of our junior center, which is like 13 to 16-year-olds. And I implore my teachers as much as they can to use games and use them with a learning impact as well. So then I've asked a question at the bottom here. So which of these do you think is the most important? Obviously, all of them are important, but which of these, in your opinion, could be the most important? So a lot of answers here. So look what we've got here. So engaging, familiarization, yeah, motivation, making learning engaging, motivation. All of them, indeed, I agree with you, are important. Motivation, everything else sums up. Yep. Motivation, to break barriers, having fun. It's not on my list of things here, but I will take it, Sophia. All of them are important, 100%, Catherine. I agree with you. Engagement, building social skills. Yes, thank you very much. I got a couple of exclamation points there as well. I really appreciate exclamation points. Boosting engagement. Yep. Games are really important for ESL young learners. Yep, I agree with you. Motivation. So I see a lot of people here saying motivation is a very important part here. This is what I'm getting at the moment. And also, in fairness, a lot of you are also saying all of them are important indeed. 100%. Um, let's see, increasing EQ, motivation, making learning visible. Yep, I agree with you there, Farfat. Making learning visible to our students. Sometimes we have students maybe in our class for maybe three or 4 months, and they're not seeing, they can't see their improvement themselves. They can't see it. But if you do these types of games, they can actually see it, and you can say to them, look, you managed to complete all of these tasks. So you must be improving some way because you just complete all these tasks, right? So yes, being a joyful learning. That's what I believe in anyway. I try to use a lot of humor in my lessons as well. Yes, let's not forget. I do go into that a little bit later, but this is not just for young learners. I find it for adult learners as well. We can use games. And a very, very good point there from Kathleen regarding sportsmanship. Yeah, 100%. You know, we're teaching them about like the sportsmanship side, teaching them, for example, that losing is okay because you've actually learned something from this loss. So, all very, very good points there for all of you guys. All right. Everyone does have a piece of child in them. I agree with you as well there, Vasula. Vasula. Okay. So now, in terms of classroom management, because we can use games for classroom management too, not just for vocabulary, grammar, or anything like that. So, how can we use it in classroom management? This is a very good question. So, we can use it, for example, with leaderboards. So, for example, every week you can put it on the side of your board, people's names, and what happens during the class, like during a quiz or class participation, for example, students putting their hands up, you do a lovely little leaderboard on the side of your board. And then students get points for things. And then at the end of the week, you can perhaps maybe give them a prize for leading the leaderboard. Or it could be like a 2 week thing. It could be a 1 month thing. But these leaderboards, students competing to go to the top of that, very useful. Progress bars. So progress bars usually occur, like for example, like during video games or like during Duolingo, as I mentioned beforehand. So again, we can use progress bars maybe to show what we've completed during a lesson. So you can literally just draw a bar on your boards or on your interactive whiteboard, whatever you guys are using where you are, and you can literally just like put lines where the stage of the lessons are, and then just color it in when we've completed it. So, okay, guys, we've completed the first part. I'm going to color it in. Now we're showing our learners where they are in the class as well. I'm a big believer in writing aims on the board as well. So then students know what they're doing in the class. If they know what they're doing, then they can get prepared for it. So these progress bars are something that we can use as well. Challenges, which are activities to complete, sorry, during the lesson. These can even be like side challenges. You know, like for example, if you guys ever played like video games like, I don't know, like Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead Redemption, there are always like side quests that you do as well. So maybe if you have a class of different levels, for the higher level students, you can give them a challenge or challenges to complete during the lesson as well. So, for example, if it's about like vocabulary, you can ask them to find like synonyms for that vocabulary. Maybe you ask them, okay, well, while everyone's finishing this task, I'll give you this challenge to present this vocabulary. So these side challenges to maybe stronger students, or even to maybe students who are finding it a bit more difficult in the class. When students are doing one thing, you give these students another thing to do. So this can be, again, an easy challenge for them to complete so that they don't feel like they're finding a task difficult. They don't feel too bad because they've actually completed something else anyway. So challenges are very, very useful to use during classes. Time limits. I'm sure I'm not the only one who does this, and please tell me if I'm wrong. Sometimes during class, I tell my students, okay, you have 2 minutes left. I'm not giving them actually 2 minutes. In fact, I'm probably going to give them more. But if I say 2 minutes, that means I'm creating this sense of urgency to complete the task. So time limits are extremely useful to use during lessons as well. Don't forget though, when we give time limits during a task, like you have 5 minutes to do that, also perhaps give them an expectation. So you have 5 minutes to complete this task, and at the end, I expect this to happen. So time limits, creating urgency, getting students involved, they get very excited, like, oh, we've got 2 minutes left, quick, hurry up. I've seen this happen this week. In fact, I told a class you have 90 seconds left when I had absolutely no intention of giving them 90 seconds, but I wanted them to hurry up a little bit. Rewards for completing a task. I'm not saying give them a chocolate after every task. We don't want our students to go home carrying extra weight that they didn't have when they came here, you know. But rewards, this can be any type of thing, really. I usually reward my students with, for example, high fives. I can get away with that just because I know them very well. I wouldn't recommend giving them high fives, but these rewards for completing a task, yeah, sure. Okay, we complete this task. Let's complete this reading. And then after this, we'll play a different game, or we'll do a music gap fill, for example, or something that they enjoy doing. So these rewards for completing tasks again help you boost your motivation. If you finish this writing and write 200 words, um, after that we can do again we can play a game, for example. So rewards, very, very useful. Points. Points for each task and each correct answer. Now, maybe the points here, they can link to your leaderboard system that you do. So, for example, if you do like a comprehension task for a reading, perhaps, then you can say, okay, for every correct answer, you get a point. How many correct points do you get during the week? So, in one task, someone can get like 10 points, for example. These all attribute to the leaderboard at the end of the week, for example. So, points are very, very useful um, to give during the class as well. Then also something which came up recently, retries. Failure is never a punishment, but an opportunity to learn. And I'm a big believer in that. And I'm a big believer also in students making mistakes in classes, because again, with mistakes, we can always learn from mistakes. You only fail in life if you don't try something. So retries are definitely a very good opportunity to learn. So if, for example, you again, I go back to the reading comprehension. They completed it. They only got like maybe like out of 10, they only got five right. Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes. Read again. See if you can find those five correct answers. Give everyone that opportunity to retry. And something at the bottom there, the last one is adaptive difficulty, which means everyone can succeed. So as I mentioned to you, everyone beforehand regarding the challenges. So you give, for example, maybe the strongest students in class a different activity. Maybe you give the students who take more time to develop a different activity. And now you have this adaptive difficulty where everyone has the opportunity to succeed. And I believe that's an important thing because everyone's there to learn. Everyone wants to learn. Everyone's sort of in my context at EF, everyone's sort of paid to come here and to learn. So 100% um, it's something we can use. Now, um, hopefully, or maybe I can't do that on here. I don't think I can. Okay, never mind. I wanted to see if I can do a poll, but I guess we'll just have to do the poll in the chat instead, which is completely fine. So, oh, click. There we go. So, guys, regarding these classroom management activities, um, wait, let me just put an annotation on there. And then I can circle stuff. There we go. So from leaderboards, challenges, and adaptive difficulty. So from these three options, which do you think will work best in your teaching context? Please, again, write all your answers in the chat. I will try to read as many of them as I possibly can while I have a sip of tea because I'm talking a lot. I do realize that. Okay. So, oh, look at that. Lovely, loads and loads of answers there. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think it's from up here, I think. Time limit is a good idea for slow learners and the ones who write slowly. It could be, because maybe again, regarding the adaptive difficulty bit here, Hasina, you could perhaps give particular students more time. Or maybe in your head, okay, I'm gonna give everyone 10 minutes, but I know the fast ones will finish it in 8. So maybe say, okay, I'm gonna give everyone 10 minutes, and then the ones who know are gonna finish beforehand, you can just give them a different task to do as well. Clapping your hands is also good, yeah. Behaviorism, ability for sure. You raise your hand, very nice. Let's see what the answer's got here. Awards. Yep, something like okay, good right there already. Class dojo. And you learn by making mistakes indeed. Retrying is also good for reflection. Yep. Mistakes and opportunities. Thank you very much for agreeing with me. Always like to hear that. Uh, I got married recently, so I don't hear people agreeing with me very often. So it's nice to hear it. So in our classroom context, so from leaderboards, challenges, and adaptive, we have a lot of people going for challenges. Leaderboard, yep, definitely use that. Challenges, challenges. It seems to me, looking in the chat, a lot of people are going for challenges in here. Though that being said, quite a lot of you as well are going for leaderboards. I mean, of course, we can use all three, Ada, but we obviously we want to. I've just asked for a poll just for one. But let's have a look here. Oh, good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming. Depending on the context, for sure. So you can use that means you can use all three of them, right? Adaptive rewards to get them. Well, see, here's a problem here. I've not circled rewards, so it's not going to be rewards in this context anyway. Challenging them, challenges. Okay, someone's asked me to explain leaderboards again. So, for example, for a leaderboard, you can literally like you can do it in a class. I'm drawing with a mouse, so I'm very sorry. So you can put the person's name on the board like this, for example, for the whole week. And whenever they complete a task, they get, for example, a point. So this student here, he's got 7 points from today. This student's got six. This student's got whoops, I can't. That's weird. This student's got five. Again, I'm very sorry if I'm drawing with a mouse. And then every day, depending on what task you do, you can add to it. So, for example, now this student, he got 6 points today, so now he's on 12. But this guy at the top, he got 9 points today, so now he's on 16. And then maybe these two students, they switched around for more points. And then the top three students get a prize, something like that. So again, they can see that they're learning, right? So something we can use there. Okay. Learn different context, very good. Retries, yep, thank you very much. Um, yeah, well, that's very true. Some students are just competitive by themselves, so they sort of do it for you, I guess. Oh wow, there's a lot of messages here. Um, well, yeah, you can say that. You can maybe say, okay, I want to compete with myself. I don't need to compete with other people. So that's why I asked, for example, which would be good in your own learning context. So, for example, in my learning context, I don't use the leaderboards, for example, in every class I have, because some of them don't work well with that, or they're competitive already by themselves. So we can use leaderboards in our own very contexts. Okay. But again, competing with each other, as we mentioned before, it does increase motivation too. Um, well, of course, if you have one to one, you can't do a leaderboard, no. Unless they are competing with themselves, I guess, you know. You can have, for example, Andrew Monday, Andrew Tuesday, Andrew Wednesday, etc. And then which day did I get the most points? Which day was I the most focused? So potentially it could work there also. Okay. Fantastic. You guys gave some very, very good answers there. I really, really appreciate it as usual. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah. So there we go. So I'm very sorry. I'm gonna really do a really bad idea with your name here, Elke, I guess. You can use pictures of the students and display them on a clothesline in the classroom. Change the pics according to the leaderboard. Fantastic stuff. Yeah. Very, very good idea. Yeah. Someone made a chart. Cue stickers, yeah, for sure. Maybe instead of numbers, just put like stickers there as well instead, right? Though I personally don't have stickers, but if you have stickers, feel free. I do love a sticker personally. Okay, good stuff. So that's how we can use, how we can implement gamification with classroom management. So that's very useful there. All right, now I have to take that off, go back to my mouse, and go to the next slide, please. Oh, oh no, wait. There we go. Okay. Oh, this is gonna take a while. Take it off, go away. I'm sure there's an easy way to do this, okay? But I've committed now, so I'm gonna do it this way. Okay. So now, when we think about introducing, for example, we've already spoken about classroom management. So now we're going to look a little bit at introducing new vocabulary and new grammar. So how can we do that? So again, I just need my little mouse to come back. Then I'll do some clicks there. Oh, shoot. There we go. So, introducing new vocabulary and new grammar. So again, I'm sure you guys have your own ideas and you guys probably use your own things. These are just some ideas that I thought of that worked well with me in my teaching context in my class. So something that I use a lot for new vocabulary is something called a Quizlet Live. I'm going to give you guys a small demonstration of that in a couple of minutes. Then I've put here TTT. So TTT is a teaching methodology, and it stands for test, teach, test. So for example, I give them the vocabulary first, they work out the meanings first, then they try to work out themselves. I see if they're right or wrong. Then I teach them what the actual meanings are, and then after that is when I test them again. So TTT, test, teach, test. Also stands for teacher talking time during observations, but in this context, no. I'll show you something about that a little bit later. Words around the class and match them with the definitions on the board. So students enter the class on the board. I've put some definitions on the board for them. Around the class, they have some like little snips, little piece of paper of words. What they have to do in groups, one person maybe has to go and run and pit and like find out a word, and then they have to run to the board, and then they have to come back and tell their person in their group the word and the definition. It's a very fun activity. Get students up, so they're not sitting down all the time. Very fun activity. I used it recently in an observation, and it worked very well. There's many different variations of this activity too. So you could, for example, have the words on the board, put definitions around. You could have, for example, the definitions, they have to write them down and then they have to go and find the words. I've done this before also, not just in the classroom, I've done it around maybe the floor that my class is on. You can stick the words outside. I mean, really makes them have to run. Um, so that's also quite fun. Something which I do a lot of as well is I just do jumbled letters or scrambled letters like on the board. So instead of like, for example, like if I put instead of vocabulary, it would be, for example, like BCOAV, and then I have to just like unscramble the letters as well. That's something that again makes students use their heads first straight away. Um, Video gap fill. Very interesting in a video gap fill. ISL Collective is a very interesting website for that. You can create your own videos. EF ourselves, we also have our own our own platform where we can do that as well. So again, watch a video. The gap fill they do is new vocabulary in the lesson. So even if they don't know what it means, they write it down. We go through the answers. Then maybe we look at their meanings. Um, oh, I skipped synonym search. Synonym search, I guess, again, if a student doesn't know what a word means, I usually tell them to look for a synonym. There are some very useful websites to look for synonyms. There's Word Hippo, which is a very cool one. Word reference. And again, I'm sure you guys have your own websites as well to use for that. And then start a narrative. So sometimes in a class, what I'd do is I'd start the narrative at the beginning. I create a story at the beginning that intertwines with every activity that I do during the class. And again, students are invested in this story from the beginning to the end, and they have to complete tasks to complete this story. So that's something which I've been trialing recently, and it works. Yeah, but some students are like, "Oh, what happens next?" So starting a narrative is and also quite a cool thing to do. So I'm just going to see if I can show you guys very quickly. Um, I'm going to do that. I'm trying to see if I can. Oh, no, 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 no. Go back. And show. Okay, there we go. So let's see what we got here. We've got okay. So this, for example, here is Quizlet Live. Hopefully you can all see it. So you can see, for example, my library. So these are all the Quizlets that I've made. What does Quizlet show you? So, for example, with Quizlet, it's basically like flashcards, essentially. So they have to work out each of these, and then you do something called a Quizlet Live during the class. So if I do Quizlet Live, for example, I can put them in teams. I can choose a definition and the term. Please, please, please do not scan this code. Oh, shoot, 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 shoot. Sound, there's sound, there's sound, there's sound. Okay, let's end that very quickly. Okay, but with Quizlet Live, essentially, it's students working in teams. And in these teams, actually, let's go back on the PowerPoint instead. Probably a bit easier from here. Okay, so this is how it looks. This is how Quizlet looks in practice. So essentially, what they do is you put them in random teams over here. Then all the answers are on the student's phone. So the word comes up at the top, the definition comes up underneath it on all the team's phones, and they have to choose the best definition for this word at the top. Okay. On the board, like, as in on the teacher's board or on the teacher's phone, wherever they start it, they will just see this progress bar at the top here. Oh, I did it again. They will see this. Might point it back. They will see this progress bar. So with this progress bar, they're able to see how far they're doing. So to win this game, you have to get, for example, 10 or in this context, 11 words correct in the row. If they get it wrong, again, they see feedback on their wrong answer. So they see, for example, the definition, which is visit for a short time, the actual phrasal verb, which is to pop in, and then the initial answer that they put is stop over him. They can also see a leaderboard on here, and at the end, the sense of achievement is they can see if they have won or not. So Quizlet, very, very useful tool for introducing new vocabulary. I use it very, very often. It's completely free to use. You can create your own Quizlets, or you can like search for one on there as well. Very, very fun tool. Something that I've asked my students to use a lot of as well. So highly recommended that well, we recommend that you can use this. It's very, 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 very fun. Okay. And now I lost my mouse. I'm back, I think. I lost my mouse. Okay, turn it off. And then we go like that. There we go. Now, let me just now do that later. So in terms of actually, you know what? Let's just go back very quickly to this. So as I've mentioned, as I've sort of described all of these to you, do you think, again, from your context, which of these do you think would be ones that you would be comfortable using in your context? Again, please just put them in the chat, please, guys. Okay, let's go back a little bit here. Okay. Okay. So we have synonyms are good. Okay. Pictures of photos. Okay. Guessing. Singing. That was very fun. Yeah. Blind drawing. Projections. Okay. Song gap fill. Yep. Puzzle games. Karaoke. Always fun. Guessing games. So the question was I asked you guys was yep, exactly right. You can also use the pronunciation tree. Okay, so someone asked me about how to we use narratives. So the narrative could be a story. So this story could be, for example, with a low-level class, could be like my holiday. So I told them about my holiday, and then I want to talk about things that I did during my holiday. So that's when we look at the vocabulary that I did in my holiday. That could be like the grammar point. And then the next stage is, and then I went to visit these places. So the vocabulary is names of places, right? And then I leave them on at the end, like on a cliffhanger. What happened in the rest of my trip? Okay, you do a small role play telling me what happened during my trip. So that could be, for example, like a narrative that you can do. Let's have a look here. Quizlet, yes, it's been Quizlet. Quizlet Live, okay, all of them. Second one, around the classroom, start a narrative, yep. Quizlet Live, good. Gap fill, very cool. Um, can we see a video gap fill? I can't really show you one, but it can just be, for example, like you watch a video on YouTube and then you look at the transcription of the video, just remove some of the words that you want to look at during the lesson, remove them, and then they have to fill it in during the activity. Quizlets, very cool. Nice, nice, nice. Video gap fill. A lot of people are loving the video gap fill, which is very nice. And a lot of people are liking the Quizlet as well. Again, just to be very clear, I don't work for Quizlet. Just to be very clear here. I just think Quizlet's a very, very cool game. Okay, nice. Thank you very much. There's a question here. Okay, so Marta, you asked a very good question there. What do you think about the use of gamification as an escape room? That's going to come up very, 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 very shortly, in fact. So nice. Okay, nice. So then moving on. Okay, I showed you that already. So now practicing vocabulary or grammar. So now we've introduced it. Now how can we practice using it? Because it's all good us introducing what it is, but they have to practice it, right? So some very fun games that I've used in my class, and they've all worked very well for me, and they're all very, very fun to do. One of them is a game called Garctic Phone. Such a fun game. So essentially, it's like Pictionary. You know, when you draw a picture on the board and they have to try guess what it is. So what I usually do, or what I've done, I'm going to show you an example of, is I was doing this with phrasal verbs, and I was also doing it with gerunds. So I told students they have to write for Garctic Phone, they have to write a sentence with someone in the class using a phrasal verb or a gerund. So, for example, one example was Charlotte popped into the shops. Okay. And then this sentence gets sent to a different person in the next stage. And this person now has to draw this sentence. And then this picture, therefore, gets sent to somebody else. So it goes like that. So it's very, very fun way to practice vocabulary or even practice a grammar point as well. Something else which I like using is something called Make It Meme. So basically, young people these days they love memes. I also love memes. So basically, they have to use the vocabulary or the grammar that they've learned to a particular meme picture. And again, I'll show you an example of that a little bit later. Creating post-it stations. So again, with these post-it stations for vocabulary or for grammar points, they put post-its around the class with, like, for example, the vocabulary and what the word means. And they have to go around and they have to then, again, like, they have to try and use that word in a sentence, but in a speaking way rather than a written way. Vocabulary headbands, it's sort of similar to there's that game, I think it's called like 20 questions. So they put like the vocabulary word on their head, and the vocabulary again is, for example, like popped in. And again, they have to sort of work out how to use that during a lesson. Oh, they have to they have to guess what the word is on their head. And then there is escape rooms, which I mentioned to me before. Creating escape rooms or various, they can use, for example, an app called Genially or various apps. Students need to complete certain tasks to move on to the next task. So, for example, the creating escape rooms. So again, for this very, very fun activity, they have like we practice like a grammar point. So the present perfect, for example. First, they have to answer 5 questions on Quizlet. Then they have to watch a video and fill in the gaps. Then they have to go onto a Kahoot and get everything correct on the Kahoot. Then they have to find like 4 examples of it in a reading. So that's the type of escape room or escape game that you can do. So if you had to do an escape room, what would your first challenge be, for example, for revising a grammar point? So what would you use for that? Please put them in the chat, please, guys. Oh, word wall is very good as well. Yeah. Charade is useful. Yeah, I agree. So if you had to revise a grammar point, what would your first challenge be? So what activity or which game would you use for them to then move on to the next game, for example? Yeah, Sophia. So Quizlet could be a very good example. Yeah. Multiple choice close. Yeah, very good start there. A quick gap fill. Yes, Augustine. Um, I wish I could show you how Genially works, but if you just Google search Genially escape room ESL, you'll find many examples on there. Okay. A quick gap fill. Yeah, a gap fill using the correct grammar point in the correct form is a good way to start. The good activity to start off with, I would say. Yeah, 100%. Okay. So again, during a practice stage, you can explain to them what an escape game is, and again, you give them like 4 or 5 tasks which they need to complete to go on to the next task. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, some very good some very good answers here from all of you. A crossword, yeah, again, very good one to start off with. Start off with a crossword or a puzzle. Yeah, 100%. Okay. This is an example of me playing um, make it meme with some people, with some students. So, for example, this was the picture I was given, and then this was a sentence that I was used. Getting into phrasal verbs, it's showtime. So that's a type of meme. And then a student said, Laura contemplating what to write. Again, grammatically, it's not, well, it wasn't about phrasal verbs, but I just thought it was very funny. And then here's an example of like a gerund going to buy Christmas decorations in November, perhaps. So very fun game. This is a game that you can again, all you have to do is just like go onto your phone and you find it on your phone. You start the game, so you have to play too. Let's not forget, like in terms of gamification, we want to play as well. If we play as well, maybe students will be motivated to play, maybe to beat us as well. Okay, I've suddenly just become very aware of the time, so I'm going to go through the next couple of slides a bit sharpish. So how can we make reading fun? There are some activities we can use that I use to make reading quite fun. So something called jigsaw reading. So jigsaw reading is an activity where, for example, students have like a paragraph of text. You take out maybe a couple of sentences from each, you print it, you cut them up, and you give them to the students, and then they have to put them in the correct order, for example. So that's an example that we can use for jigsaw reading. Running dictation is a very fun game where again you cut up little paragraphs of text, you stick them outside in groups of three. One student has to run outside and remember a sentence. They have to come back inside. They tell one person, and then this person tells another person, and this person writes it down. So that's something again that we can do for reading to make reading a bit more fun. Um, Tornado comprehension. That's something that's a teacher actually gave to me. Quite a fun game. So instead of like reading, answering questions, I make students, or I ask students to write their own comprehension questions. And then after that, there is like a sort of, let me just, I can, it's a type of activity where they do that. There's like a grid, sort of like battleships. And depending on which square they choose, so they could choose, for example, like A1 or like B5, each of these blocks in the grid can give them, for example, tornado. Tornado means they lose all their points. Rain means they double their points. Wind means they exchange points. And then there's examples of, for example, like 10, 5, 2, and 1. So again, it's a comprehension task. I was thinking, how can I make this a bit more fun? How can I make them want to read and find the answers? Okay, I'll do this activity in the end called comprehension tornado game. Again, you can find if you search all of these the games, you'll find them. And then finally, something called popcorn reading. Again, popcorn reading is essentially similar to running dictation, but instead you put all of your readings into you cut them up into like little circles, and then you put them on round on different tables, and students have to go around and read it, and then maybe answer some questions which are on the board. So that's some examples that I use to make reading fun. Is there a template for the Tornado comprehension? To be honest with you, Gisela, you don't really need a template. It's very, very easy to make. You literally just make a grid by yourself, like, A to D, and then 1 to 4. And then yourself, you put, for example, in B1, you put a T for tornado. In C5, in C4, you put like a 10 points. You can make it up as you want. You can put like as many tornadoes or as many points as you want in there. So very easy there. Very nice idea here, Kieran, to create a reading space. Would you use all these techniques in the cooperative learning or individually? Well, a lot of them require um, cooperative to work or people to work, but some of them you can do by yourself. Like jigsaw reading, for example, you can do that with one student. You can give them a text and they have to put it in the right order. That works on their cohesion. So something there which is very useful for that. Even popcorn reading as well. They have to go find it in different parts. Yeah. Okay. A couple more slides to go, and then you can all go outside and play with your friends. So at the end of the lesson, what are some tasks that we can complete, or some games that we can do at the end of a lesson? So of course, there's everyone's favorite Kahoot, but I think maybe Kahoot's been a bit done now. It's always asking me to pay for stuff, and I don't want to pay for stuff. So I use a lot of other games as well. Presentations are fun, despite what many people say. I'm very much enjoying and loving doing this presentation to you guys right now. Also, there's a game called a hot seat. Again, for example, on the board, you write the word on the board. Students are not facing the board, so they're sitting like this, and the students in front of them have to explain what's this word on the board, but they can't use any of the words, obviously, that they see, on the board. That's quite fun. Students get very, very competitive with that. Again, here you can add rewards, you can add points, you can add progress bars, create a leaderboard. All of these things you can use in all these activities. Role plays. I find I have to sell that a lot. So I try to make the role plays in like really weird situations. Like I'm sure all of you have used like the agony aunt as a role play, for example, but I say as an agony aunt to give the worst advice instead of the best advice. So that's quite cool. Role plays, use new vocabulary. Mad Libs. I don't know if you guys have watched. There's a video with Jimmy Fallon, and he uses Mad Libs. So basically, there's a story, and then they ask you, for example, give me like a plural animal, give me a unit of distance, give me a verb, give me an adjective, give me a comparative. So they have to write all that in the story, and then when they actually read the story, for example, if you gave the number 101, the sentence would say, for example, and I heard you were 101 centimeters away from the crime scene. So Mad Libs are very cool. Quizzes, not Quizlet, Quizles. That's where you can make quizzes, you can make polls, you can make charts. So quizzes again, free, very easy to use, very nice to use. And then of course, everyone's favorite filler game is the categories game. So I think it's called like Petit Bac in French. It's called like Stadtland Fluss in German. It's called Stop, I think, in Spanish. So a lot of different names. But yeah, on the board, like you can do, if I'm practicing verbs, I do like verbs in past participle. I do like shoes or brand, colors, and then I give them the letter B, and they have to come up with a B for a verb, a B for a brand, that sort of stuff. So Categories game also very, very cool. Um, so that's some examples that you guys can use. Of course, I'm sure I've seen in the chat you guys have your own ideas as well. Your ideas seem very, very some really nice ideas there. So use them. Um, but again, like from what I've given you here, this is the stuff that works with me. As I told you, why do we do it? We do it for these reasons to boost engagement, to motivate students, to show achievement, and also to help with social factors. What can we do in the class? These are some examples of things we can do. Like even during the games I was showing you before for introducing, these are things you can add to their leaderboard, to their progress bar. Someone wants to move up to the next level, for example, they have to complete your progress bar, right? So you give them every couple of days, you shade in some more of the progress bar. So all very, very useful tasks. Now, just to scroll very quickly to the end, can you guys tell me in the chat, please, what's one thing you've learned today? And if you can as well, can you give me which emoji would you use to show me how you're feeling about using gamification in the classroom? Can you just put that in the chat and also send me some of your lovely emojis as well? Okay, great techniques. Thank you very much. Bamboozle. Yep. Someone told me about bamboozle.